All right, you guys, I told you I was going to go ahead and show you all this one too. This is going to be front drive shaft removal. I apologize if the video quality is not all that great, but this is for anybody who's needing to do some work to their vehicle. You can't really afford to send it to a shop, but you need it done pretty quick, but you can come up with the parts. So this drive shaft is going to be just the same as the rear. Posted it just a little bit ago, removing the rear drive shaft, or the aftermath of it. I'm going to attempt to record this one. I'm using a cell phone to record it. So, like I said, the video quality may not be the greatest, but I'm going to explain every bit of it as I go. So, what we're going to do is, I believe these are going to be 8mm, just as the rear drive shaft bolts were. Okay, you got your 2 bolts on this side. There's 2 more over here with your retainer. That's your drive shaft retainer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this rear drive, or this front drive shaft, and go ahead and get it out of here. So for the time being, I'm going to go ahead. I'm using a 3/8 drive ratchet and an 8mm socket. Like I stated earlier, this is a Dodge. So it should be fairly similar. Now, you're going to need to brace your front drive shaft. These bolts are not torqued very tight. So you could probably get away with a pair of channel lock grips, screwdriver, you know, something. Just don't try to wedge anything too large in that little space right there, that you damage your drive shaft. It will throw it out of whack, and you can run into some issues with that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and grab my channel locks and wedge them into the drive shaft. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a minute, and I'm going to pull these 4 bolts, and then I'll show you how the drive shaft comes out. All right, guys, so we went ahead, pulled our 4 retainer bolts. There's first 2 bolt holes, rotate your drive shaft. There's the second 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop this drive shaft loose. Got to figure out the best way to, there we go. Okay, I'm going to wedge these in there, and if you'll see, you may lose, as you just saw, you may lose a U-joint bearing. That's what this right here is. U-joint and pencil bearings falling out. So this front drive shaft is going to need new U-joints and new pencil bearings. Okay, so there's the other U-joint bushing with the pencil bearings in it. You can see them little bearings right there. That's why they're called pencil bearings. They look like a little stick. So we have got the front drive shaft loose. We'll go ahead and rotate it on the transfer case. Still losing packing and seals off of that. Okay, so let me move some of our stuff, our channel locks and all that we used for this. Okay, now on this here, the rear side of the drive shaft, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either disconnect it from the transfer case flywheel. You can see those 4 bolts around the edges, which one of these is actually sheared, so we're going to wind up replacing that when we put it in the other Dodge. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and pause again, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect these 4 bolts from the flywheel, and we'll go ahead and pull this drive shaft the rest of the way. Okay, so I'll be back with y'all here shortly. All right, so it took a little longer than anticipated. My recommendation, I didn't do it this time, that's why it took so long. But my recommendation is locking in 4-wheel drive before, like, park it in 4-wheel drive. Before you go to disconnect this, I forgot about the fact that flywheel, the front drive shaft, free spins until it's locked in 4-wheel drive. If you have a vacuum system, then you're just gonna have to wedge something in there to hold it still, because I do not recommend doing this while the truck's running. But if you have manual hubs, you won't have any issue. Or if you have straight dog leg with no vacuum system. So if your four-wheel drive will stay engaged while you're parked without vacuum off the engine, you can go ahead and lock in four-wheel drive, park it that way, and you won't have any issues with free spin on the front drive shaft. However, we've already seen the retainer bolts pulled. You get your 4 bolts on the flywheel. Apparently, one of those bolts has sheared off. Yes, there are multiple bolt holes. Only 4 of them are threaded. Because there are only 4 bolt holes on your drive shaft knuckle. Now, what we're going to do before these go back in my truck, since they're coming off of this old truck, before they go in that one, we're going to go ahead and replace all the U-joints. Since I did show you, we had some pencil bearings fall out of the U-joint bushings. You can see those just pour right out of there. They're worn out. I'm pretty sure they came off of an older truck, if these are not the stock ones, that were on this truck when the engine and axles were swapped the first time. So the engine was rebuilt before it was put in this truck. It was bought used, rebuilt, put in the truck, 30,000 miles on it, and the kid wrecked it. And somebody else got a hold of it, and I picked it up off of them. So there's your front and rear drive shaft pulled. There's front one, no drive shaft no more. It's laying over here behind me. The other one's laying on the tailgate of my truck, rear drive shaft. You can see the glass packs. We're going to run this exhaust. We're probably just going to pull this exhaust for the time being. Whenever we swap the engine over, we'll go ahead and pull the exhaust, and this will be the exhaust that stays on until we decide to rerun new exhaust. It's, as I stated, true duals, no headers, no cats. So that's the way we're going to run it. We won't have any issues, and we've already bypassed the O2 sensors on my truck. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up for the day. It's starting to get a little later. It's sprinkling a little bit, and I don't want to be out here in the rain doing all this. So that's front and rear drive shaft. 2 parts, 2 videos. Yeah. So I'll continue to keep y'all updated on how the swap over and rebuild goes. And y'all be good and have a safe weekend.